There's been quite a few comments I've had in my videos recently about or suggestions, I should say, about how I should move to another country, and how there are a lot of other people that have done similar things and moved to all sorts of places in the world and found that their lives have massively improved. And I'm going to keep this video short because I don't actually have much longer on my memory card, I don't think. But it doesn't need to be a huge video. But it seems to be quite a popular topic. A lot of people are moving abroad, and particularly nowadays, where this trend of digital nomads, of people that are doing their jobs in high-paying Western countries like the UK or the US, and living in countries where the cost of living is much lower. So Southeast Asia, Thailand, Bali, places like that. And it seems like a really good idea. And I am fully for it. So my plan has been to move away for a long time, actually. And for those of you that don't watch the videos regularly, you might not know that I have had a construction project which has been on the go for nearly 4 years now. It wasn't supposed to take 4 years, but unfortunately, again, if you're familiar with the UK, you need building permissions to pretty much do anything to a property. And in this instance, I had bought an old bar. It's a B-A-R, a bar, not a barn. And so I needed to apply for planning permission to change the usage from commercial, which is a business, to domestic, as somewhere to live in. And I was attempting to do this just about the time that lockdown happened. And so, as you can imagine, it was a total disaster, because the guy that was supposed to be looking after it was completely unorganised. This guy left, and his colleague then took over, and then I ended up having to jump through all the same hoops again. And then it was even more complicated, because above my bar there are 4 flats, and all of those flats had their utilities, so their gas and their electric and their water were all coming from my bar, which means then they all had to have their own individual supplies put in, which added another year to the whole project. And then construction took much longer than we anticipated, so it's one of those things that just never seems to have finished. And before I even began this project, I always had the idea of trialing life out in a different country. And for me, what I was doing at the time was applying for a Canadian citizenship, because my granddad was Canadian. And fortunately, if you were born before 1996, so if you're an oldie like me, a millennial, then you are entitled to apply for Canadian citizenship if your second generation relative is Canadian. So in this case, my grandparents, second generation. So even though I have never been to Canada, even though I never really remember my granddad because he died when I was 1, my certificate came through, and I am technically a Canadian citizen. So I could go and work in Canada tomorrow if I wanted to. I could go and live and work in Canada tomorrow. And I've always loved this idea. And the other idea that another country I've always liked the idea of living in is Australia. And I know a lot of people that have gone out there on working holiday visas, which are much easier if you're in the UK versus some of the other countries, and enjoying a life that seems to have a better work-life balance and certainly better weather than the UK. So that's another option that's on the cards. Another thing is maybe moving somewhere like Southeast Asia, like Thailand, where I've been before, or like the Philippines or something like that, where the cost of living is much, much lower, to give myself the time to really invest in this channel and maybe some other businesses that I've always wanted to start running. And so for those people that have commented on the channel previously, yeah, absolutely, I plan to move to another country nearly as soon as this project's completed. Things are still a little bit more complicated. The project should be finished before Christmas, I'm hoping. That's Christmas of 2023. And I'm hoping that somewhere between spring and summer of next year, I can begin these travels and hopefully take this channel on the road, which is something that really excites me. Because for me, whenever I have travelled to a different country, I've just felt, I can't really describe it, just felt more alive and more conscious of life and more present. And I've tried to articulate this before, and it's something that I struggle with, but I think the main reason for it is that when you go travelling to another country, and particularly if you go travelling for an extended period of time, so we're not talking a holiday here, like anything over a month where you get to really like assimilate yourself into the culture and to learn about the language and the food and the culture and everything that comes with being in that country. When you're there, everything around you is new and is novel. And for someone like me who spends a lot of time in their own heads thinking about things, and for someone like me who spends a lot of time in their own head thinking, having the opportunity to be present is rare and makes me feel awesome. And I'm fully aware that there's going to be comments saying, you know, that you can learn to be present here in this country, and I get all of that, but I love seeing new cultures. I love experiencing new things, and travel is such a pivotal part of that, and I feel like I haven't really been able to do much of that all the time I've had this tie here in the UK. But yeah, when you travel, you have the opportunity to experience something completely new. Like, you don't even know what brand of toothpaste you should be buying. You don't know what brand of deodorant or where to get your trousers from, your pants if you're American, or where you go and if you're ill, and all of these things are completely new, and so you're forced to be so present. And I think that's a real gift for anyone that hasn't travelled before. And if you haven't travelled before, I fully recommend it, and if you've got the courage, I would always recommend doing it on your own, because that builds a hell of a lot of confidence in the fact that you can face up to a challenge, because there will be challenges along the road when you are travelling. And when you've only got yourself to rely on, that builds a hell of a lot of confidence. Like, I remember the last big trip that I did, I went to India, and absolutely incredible experience, but really unfortunate timing, because I went in April 2020, so just before the shit hit the fan with BC, before Corona. And when Corona hit, yeah, no one had ever experienced anything like it. And where I was at the time in India was this ashram, and I was in this meditation retreat in the middle of nowhere, and the whole country was going into full lockdown, and I had no means of getting to the airport to get home. All the flights had been grounded, and so I had to figure things out, and it was massively confidence boosting for me. So for the people that are commenting here saying, you know, you should go and try and live in another country, I totally agree, and that is my intention. Maybe not to move there permanently. There may be a time where I come back home, but there may be a different type of lifestyle I find in a different country, and that makes me want to stay in that country. And if I don't do it, I will always spend my life wondering what if, and I can't do that. For me, that's absolute torture. So yes, I am planning on moving to another country, at least temporarily. At the moment, the toss-up is between Canada and Australia, but I'm also considering Southeast Asia. So if you've ever made a move like that, or if you're living in one of those countries, let me know in the comments. I know that the grass is not always greener, and I'm aware that every country has its problems. I'm not necessarily leaving the UK because I think it's a terrible country or because it's run down. I'm not here to make this a political statement. I just want to experience new things, new cultures. And so, yeah, if you're living in one of those countries, let me know the pros and the cons. And thanks for watching, as always.